Good morning, this is Deborah Matthews, Vicar of Verwood. In church, we talk a lot about being part of the family of Jesus. We are one in Christ, and we think of each other as brothers and sisters in the faith. We use this language because for the most part it is helpful to us as we describe our relationship with God and the church. We know what it means to call someone our brother or our sister or father or mother. But today we hear one of those Bible readings which shocks us and makes us stop and think about what Jesus is saying. It's one of those occasions where we look at our own response to faith as Jesus questions his family's commitment. Jesus' family had heard that he was preaching to an audience who were not all sympathetic to his words, and they were concerned for his safety, and so they came out to take him home. On one level, we can see why Jesus' family were worried about him. They didn't understand what he was doing, and the authorities were charging him with being in league with Satan. If a child or relative of yours was making an exhibition of himself and causing a commotion in public, annoying the authorities, then I think that you might react in the same way as Jesus' family did. I'm sure that I would. We do at times need to support our children in their pursuits, but in order to do that, we need to understand their causes and the paths that they have chosen. But we will always want to protect them from situations that put them in danger or of things that are detrimental to their mental well-being. When his family arrived to constrain Jesus, he was surrounded by the crowds, and there was no space for him to even sit down. So there was no way that his family could get through the crowds to reach him. So they called for him, and the message got through. The fact that the whole family came to get him, not just one of his brothers, demonstrated the seriousness with which the family considered the situation. Perhaps they were expecting opposition, if not from Jesus himself, then from the disciples and the crowd who surrounded Jesus. The family had heard what people were saying and wondered if Jesus had gone mad. In those days, it was sometimes thought that too much learning could lead to madness. But on hearing that his family had arrived and were asking for him, Jesus said that those who believed in him and followed him were his family, not those who were thinking that he'd gone out of his mind, which is what some of those listening to him had reported to his family. St. Mark writes a tough version of this story, whereas Matthew and Luke are kinder to Jesus' family, extending the family relationships to include Jesus' disciples. Whereas St. Mark writes that Jesus says, "Who are my mother and sisters and brothers?" And looking at those sitting around him, he said, "Here are my mother and my brothers and sisters." Those who do the will of God are Jesus' family. Well, if I'd been a member of Jesus' family listening to him, I'd have been hurt if I'd heard him say that. I wonder if they left him to it at that point. I'm sure they'd have been rather fed up to be put down in public. If we are members of Jesus' family, we will find that there are sometimes choices to be made which are tough. In following him, there will be dissension at times, as there is within all families. But if we can be the family who listens and believes and cares and loves as we journey with him, he will call us his. Jesus said, "If a house is divided against itself, it will be weak and full." We need to be of one mind, of one body and one spirit, and that is the foundation of unity and strength. If that is the way that we live as a family, then we will thrive. Jesus redefines family to include all those who follow him. We are all welcomed into his family. He no longer belongs exclusively to his relatives, but to all those who trust in him. Our families are really important to us, and loving and supporting them is part of our discipleship. But that should not prevent us from fulfilling our own mission in life and following Jesus as a disciple. We are often defined by where we belong, who our parents are, or our jobs or qualifications, or our children. But the definition for the Christian should first be, I belong to Christ. I hope you have a fabulous week and enjoy some really lovely weather. God bless you all.